Do you like Black Scarab Films? Are you a bipedal humanoid with dual brachium extending out from the shoulder joint? Do you like to support your favorite creators by purchasing items with their iconography on them? Then do I have the merchandise for you. Starting now, Black Scarab Films has merch. Whether you like the literary lair, how to fix it, or just want the channel logo proudly emblazoned on your chest, there are shirts for everyone now available from TeePublic. Just go to the link on screen and you can browse the Black Scarab Films store for the colors and size that suits your individual tastes. Want the purple logo on a lime green shirt? Well, maybe try a more complimentary combination, but if that's what you want. And for the first 72 hours that the shirts are up, they'll be discounted, so get them while they're cheap. And then when they're not. And keep an eye out on the store in the coming months, because more designs will be coming if there's a demand for them. Maybe there's a certain quote you want on a shirt? Black Scarab Films t-shirts. You'll never have to explain how to spell the channel's name ever again. You know, the scarab like beetle and then there's a Z at the end of films. I don't know, I guess the guy thought it looked cool or something. Hello and welcome to How to Fix It. Almost 4 years and exactly 49 episodes ago, I started this show with one ambition. You see, everyone was out there on the internet making videos about bad movies, or bad TV shows, bad games, bad comics, etc. But not many people took any time in those videos to talk about how to make them good. Some people did, but it wasn't the majority. Most people go at length about how something is the worst movie, game, comic ever made, but they never tell you if any of the positive aspects could have made it good. That's where I came in. I wanted to show that nothing that Hollywood produces was entirely without merit. Even the worst of the worst still has some good in it. I've gotten plenty of comments over the years about how things I've looked at can't be fixed or should never have been made. But I disagree. Sure, there are things that can't be fixed and are just bad from premise to execution. But if something like that comes along, I wouldn't do an episode on it. Anyway, that brings us to today's subject. The term worst movie ever made has been thrown around a lot. Plan 9, Manos the Hands of Fate, Garbage Pail Kids, but I don't think any film has become so ingrained in the mainstream consciousness more than The Room. The Room is a film created, written, and produced by the I don't actually know what born filmmaker Tommy Wiseau. And because of James Franco producing the adaptation of Greg Sestero's tell-all book about the making of The Room, it's been all over the mainstream pop culture lexicon lately. The Room was just in theaters for a Fathom event. Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero were at the Golden Globes. So, while every other reviewer has looked at this movie before me, I feel pretty secure in choosing it for the 50th episode since it's never been more relevant than it is right now. Anyway, this really is the movie that needs no introduction. Tommy Wiseau, after struggling in Hollywood to become a part of the industry, decided in a pre-YouTube landscape that he'd make his own movie, with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the blackjack and hookers. The result of that endeavor was today's film. So let's see if there's a good movie hiding inside this train wreck, and look at The Room. So everyone has already done a comprehensive plot summary of the movie, going over it from start to finish. I don't really do that, and because there are so many reviews out there, you can find any one of them and get the entire plot note by note. Or, hell, go and actually watch the movie. It is an experience. Anyway, this means that I'm just going to go over the major stuff, and then after I do that, I'll address all the little subplots because none of them actually go anywhere or have any bearing at all on the plot that drives the movie, so why should I follow the movie's lessons of diverting the actual plot for them? But before we get to that, I just want to talk about the little blurb we get on the back of the DVD case that goes over a basic plot summary, because it is so obviously written by Wiseau himself that it's not even funny. Let me read it out for you. The Room is an electrifying black comedy about love, passion, betrayal, and lies. It's what happens in real life. You could be with your loving woman and all of a sudden, boom, she's in bed with your best friend or a family member.
I'll do all I can to solve the death of your friend/family member/pet.
You know, this doesn't state if the family member is supposed to be related to the person reading it or the loving woman's. If it's the latter, then ew. The Room depicts the depths of friendship and relationships in one's life and realizes life's real and most asked question. Can you ever really trust anyone? Are you ready to see reflections of your life? If you see any reflections of your life in this, well, you're probably Tommy Wiseau. Anyway, on to what's inside the DVD case. The film centers around Johnny, played by Wiseau, who is engaged to be married to his future wife, not fiancée because Wiseau has a vendetta against the French, Lisa, played by Juliette Danielle. They're so in love that when he comes home with a red dress for her, she immediately takes him upstairs so they can make love. And then, as they start getting into it, they're interrupted by their neighbor Denny, played by Philip Haldeman.
I just like to watch you guys.
Fun fact, Philip Haldeman, despite Denny the character supposedly being college-aged, was older than Juliette Danielle, who was 23 at the time of the movie's release. Haldeman was 26. There's Dawson casting, and then there's whatever the hell this is. For some reason, maybe because Johnny fell asleep after sex and didn't want to cuddle, Lisa is dissatisfied with their relationship and starts cheating on Johnny with his best friend Mark, played by Greg Sestero. Mark is sort of an idiot. Not that he's stupid, but Lisa continually comes on to him, and yet he still doesn't seem to get that she likes him. Lisa starts manipulating Johnny, who, as far as we know, is a very attentive boyfriend, by goading him into drinking, which, according to several characters, including Johnny himself, he never does, and then telling everyone that Johnny hit her. Johnny responds with what became one of the most well-known scenes from the movie.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Johnny was up for a promotion at the bank, though as time passes, and to be honest, I have no idea what the timescale of this movie is, so it's either a few days or a few weeks, it's anyone's guess. As time passes, Johnny loses his promotion, and Lisa confesses her infidelity to her mother Claudette, played by Carolyn Monroe, which Johnny overhears and plants a tape recorder to capture in the act. A mutual friend, Peter, finds out what's going on with Lisa and Mark, and calls Lisa a sociopath, so Greg hangs him off the roof a la Batman. At Johnny's birthday party, more of their friends, including Steven, who just sorta shows up with no introduction, find out about the infidelity, along with Lisa lying to Johnny that she's pregnant. Johnny and Mark get into a huge fight, and after the party ends, Johnny reveals that he knows about the affair and kicks Lisa out. He goes on a rampage, Citizen Kane style, and destroys the apartment before shooting himself. Mark, Lisa, and Denny find the body, with Mark rejecting Lisa because she caused Johnny suicide, and Denny asking a question that can be asked about the entire movie as a whole.
Why, Johnny? Why?
The movie ends with sirens overlaid onto the footage of the three of them standing over Johnny's body, but they can't actually be an ambulance or anything because they show up way too quickly. The various and pointless subplots include Denny being an orphan, which is how his strange relationship to Johnny and Lisa is explained to Claudette, Denny being confronted by a drug dealer, Chris R., who he owes money to. Which is weird because typically, as far as I know at least, drug dealers don't usually have a payment plan. They sort of insist on you paying all the money up front, at least if he was buying the drugs and not selling them. In which case, either he was crap at selling them or got them stolen, or used them and now owes the money or drugs to Chris R. Regardless, it's present for one scene and has no bearing on the rest of the movie. Unless Johnny's secret stashed gun is Chris R's. Johnny and Lisa's friends, Mike and Michelle, side note, that is a really bad name combination, like to sneak into Johnny and Lisa's place to have sex and are caught in the act by Lisa and Claudette. The only follow-up we get is Mike meeting with Johnny in the alley to discuss it, and then it's never brought up again. Claudette not only has breast cancer, but has a brother trying to take her house, and also an ex-husband or something. She has a different subplot every time she was on screen, and it was confusing. Here's a basic premise of a man being betrayed by his fiancée and supposed best friend. It's a cliched premise, but it's one that has found success for other films in the past, so Wiseau's choice to use it wasn't entirely without a reason. It's not a great premise, but it's not the worst premise I've ever seen. And all of the actors, save for Sestero, seem like they're giving it their all. This isn't one of those movies where the actors look like they're phoning it in the entire time for a paycheck. These people are dedicated. Sestero doesn't quite give it his all, but if what he said in The Disaster Artist was true, that when filming started, Wiseau forced him to take over as Mark because he didn't like the initial actor, I'd get why he'd be phoning it in. Especially considering that he was the first line of defense against Wiseau's behavior and had a lot of stuff to deal with when he wasn't on screen. Even Wiseau himself is clearly giving it his all, though it's hard to tell through the ADR. I'll get to that later. Wiseau was clearly passionate about the movie, and everyone else, including him I suppose, were trying to make the best movie they could under the circumstances. They didn't succeed, but they tried. I've seen a lot of movies where it seems, like as Mystery Science Theater has shown us in the past, they just didn't care. But this movie isn't like that. The cast and crew, for the most part, seem to care. And in some way, that's refreshing to see. And this might just be me, but the music is good. Not phenomenal, but like with Attack of the Clones, way too good for the movie that it was used for. I've definitely heard worse film scores. The movie is shot really well, too. It helps that Wiseau did have some skilled filmmaking people working on the movie as his crew. It's nothing revolutionary, but the production team did know what they were doing. And this isn't really a positive, but it's something funny I noticed. Claudette is the perfect audience surrogate. Every time she was in a scene, the other characters say something, and I would be about to write a note about it, and Claudette would say exactly what I was in the middle of writing. It's the little things that get you through the movie. Other than that, it's pretty bad. Starting with the technical aspects, the ADR is atrocious. I mean, it's mostly on Johnny and everyone else seems to be fine, but I swear that Wiseau either doesn't impart the same emotion between the ADR and the original footage, or it's just bad dubbing, because half the time, Johnny looks like the main character in a poorly dubbed Godzilla film. And the chroma key on the roof set is horrible. In fact, most of the set design sorta sucks. Like that scene in the alley with Mike looks like a poorly put together high school theater show. In fact, it looks worse than some of the stuff put on by my high school. And the writing, dear God, watching this is like, I can't even describe what it's like because I've never felt that feeling before. But suffice it to say, it felt like my brain was leaking out of my ears when I finished it. This movie can be summed up in 3 words. Fast-paced nonsense. A lot of stuff happens really fast, but none of it makes any sense in the slightest. Part of that is Wiseau's writing style, which makes the dialogue both expository and bereft of exposition. The characters say a bunch of stuff, but they say so much exposition for subplots that don't matter that it's like they didn't say anything relevant at all. The dialogue is absolute garbage. Some of it is even redundant, like if Wiseau was writing a paper and had to reach a page count. Like this bit right here.
Did you get your promotion?
Nah.
You didn't get it, did you?
We don't need that extra bit tacked on at the end. Johnny stated the answer. No normal person would follow up someone saying no, with them reaffirming that the person just said no. That's where, if Johnny was snarky, he'd respond with something like, "So you weren't listening to me?" But it's not just the dialogue, because we have Wiseau's refusal to use any French-based words, like fiancé, so we get future wife a lot, which just compounds the problems with the dialogue, because none of it sounds organic. Another issue, less with the dialogue, but in the same vein, is the disjointedness of any phone conversations we see. It's like the Game Grumps introductory sketch for Grumpcade, but while that was done deliberately for the sake of comedy, this was, as far as I can tell, not the case here. And it really undermines the scene when Lisa and Mark are talking, and it feels like Mark is having a different conversation than Lisa is. This should go without saying, but the plot is confusing. It's really difficult to watch this movie for a review because I have to pay very close attention to the movie, but there were points where I had to rewind it because I had no idea what the hell had just happened. A lot of it is because characters show up for no reason and then disappear just as fast. Peter the psychologist has his big scene with Mark and then he's gone, replaced by another dude who confronts Lisa and Mark. To the movie's credit, that was because the actor who played Peter had a real acting gig to get to and couldn't stick around for filming, but still, it's the same deal with how the movie has a lot of scenes that go absolutely nowhere with subplots that never crop up again. Lisa can't support herself, but apparently has a job because she kicked Claudette out so she can speak with a client who we never see. Was she lying? I really love how all of these subplots just show up and then are dropped. Claudette has like 3. Her cancer, her evil brother, and evil ex-husband, who she never really loved, and she never really loved Lisa's father either. Oh, and this movie has absolutely no time scale. Several events and outfit changes happen throughout what is apparently a single day, yet it seems like weeks are passing. I have no idea if the movie takes place over the course of a single week or a month. It's like the time scale of All-Star Batman and Robin, but dialed up to 11. At least this one doesn't have any stupid flashbacks. And I know I'm a bit of a prude when it comes to sex and adult themes. Personally, I don't need that to be in my recreation reading and watching to enjoy it, but to each your own. On the other hand, this movie has 3 sex scenes in the first half hour. There's like one every 10 goddamn minutes. I think at that point this movie has to be legally considered a porno. And let me get this straight, I'm not mad that there are sex scenes, I'm mad that they're all in the first half hour of the friggin' movie. I barely know these characters and already they're boning. I saved this bit for the end just because it's so utterly bad, but everyone else who's looked at the movie has already tore it apart, so I figured I wouldn't spend that much time on it. The Chris R scene is laughably bad. I mean, there's 6 different subplots in that scene alone. And God bless the actor playing Chris R, because he is clearly giving it his all there. Like, more so than anyone else in this entire movie. Chris R, in one scene, manages to pretty much be the MVP of the movie. But the entire scene with Denny whining and then Johnny and Mark cart Chris R off to jail, and I'm pretty sure that Citizen's Arrest does not work that way. And of course, the bit with Lisa crying and Claudette berating Denny, it's so bad that it somehow manages to lap itself and become good again. I don't think I could ever get tired of hearing Denny snap.
You're not my fucking mother!
Okay, I admit it. I might have bitten off a little more than I could chew with this movie. I did think that while watching and taking notes that maybe, just maybe, the entire premise of my video was flawed, because before I had seen it in its entirety, and after reading The Disaster Artist, I wanted to believe, I hoped, that there was a good movie hiding inside this 30-car pileup of a travesty. And from reading The Disaster Artist, I'm convinced, even now, even after watching it, that has to be true. Let's begin. Roll with the premise of betrayal. If there's one word synonymous with The Room other than clusterfuck and why, it's betrayal.
But betray me? You betrayed me, you're not good. Everybody betrayed me. I fed up with this world, and now you betray me. Everybody betrayed me. I don't have a friend in the world.
The word is everywhere, and while the movie's main plot is about that, it should only be about betrayal. Those side scenes would be okay in any other movie, but this is about betrayal. Even the blurb on the back of the case knows that. And to that end, Wiseau needs to spend more time developing Johnny and Lisa's relationship if he wants me, and by extension any audience member, to be invested in the story. Start off with some domestic bliss. Johnny and Lisa are madly in love. Maybe don't have Denny creepily watch them during foreplay, cause that's weird. But that entire scene with the dress, if that came later, after we were set up learning about them and their relationships, it would have worked. Don't make Denny the first character we see outside of Lisa and Johnny. Give us a scene of Lisa and Claudette, and Johnny and the guys hanging out before we go straight into the sex scene. That way the story is coherent and we know about the ordinary world they live in before Lisa destroys it. If Wiseau really wants to go the sociopath route with Lisa, which I really don't think it needs, but if he's married to that, have Johnny do something minute and small. It can even still be that he doesn't cuddle after sex, and then maybe have her glance at a picture on the nightstand of Johnny, Lisa, and their friend group together, and have her eyes fly over Johnny and land on Mark. That way the entire Mark plot seems like something that she'd have thought about for a while. I'm not going to say to not have the infidelity culminate with the sex scene, but if we had the prologue stuff and then the initial sex scene and then the infidelity in the first half hour, I wouldn't be against that. But don't have another sex scene with Johnny and Lisa until way later. Lisa's not interested in sex anymore, at least not with Johnny. The movie's main issue is coherence. Fix the plot like that and it starts making sense. Cut Claudette's subplot apart and just have her ex-husband and have her admit that she never loved him or Lisa's father. Have that be her thing and it serves as a really nice mirror to what Lisa does to Johnny. And don't lose Peter halfway through and have him be the one to confront Lisa and Mark at the party, because then they'll have more of a narrative punch to it. I mean, really, right there, the story is coherent and it makes sense, so the movie will immediately benefit from that. Another way to make it make sense is to have the dialogue sound organic and not like someone with a poor grasp of the English language wrote it. And that's not me saying that non-English speakers can't write movies. I'm saying that if you're making a movie in English, have someone with a strong grasp of it do a pass-over of the screenplay to make sure that the characters don't sound bizarre. Make the time scale clearer. Like the entire reason that screenplays have the little scene headings that read interior house day is so that you know that time passes throughout the movie. Fix the ADR, get better set design, better chroma key, or maybe just film on an actual rooftop. And last but not least, and I really hate to say it, get rid of the Chris R scene. It's awesome. It's the best scene in the movie, but it's not relevant to any of the major plots that I'd keep, and so it's extraneous. I know, it's a great loss, but its loss will not go in vain, because without it, I think The Room might have been pretty damn good.
A film with the passion of Tennessee Williams, The Room, directed by Tommy Wiseau.
And that was The Room, which, yes, I did actually spend $10 on. Was it good? Honestly, considering that I had never seen the original version and had only seen parodies, reviews, and read and watched The Disaster Artist, it was totally as bad as its reputation preceded. I would say that, yeah, it's definitely one of the worst movies ever made. But you know what? It had the right idea. If Wiseau was more adept at screenwriting, or would have been able to give his script to someone else to do some script doctoring to tighten it up, The Room might have been the mega hit that Wiseau envisioned. It might have risen above being a cult classic that people love to hate, and become as revered as a Tennessee Williams play. It wasn't, and the movie is absolute garbage, but it's garbage with potential. I know I say that every episode, but it's true, and it's the mission statement of this show, that nothing is without merit. And as bad as The Room is, I was able to fix it. At least I think I was. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more of how to fix it, you can hit that subscribe button, and if you have any comments or complaints about the video, you can put those in the comment section below. Oh, and if you want to be notified of new uploads, you can hit that bell icon. And if you enjoyed this video, show it to your friends and share it around the internet. And maybe consider supporting the show on Patreon. See you next time for the review, where I look at whatever won the viewer suggestion poll. And as long as nothing changes with the votes between the filming of this video and the end of the poll, it's not gonna be Twilight. Thank heavens for small mercies. Starting with the technical aspects, the ADR is atrocious. No. Starting with the technical aspects, the ADR is atrocious. Atrocious. And I know I'm a bit of a prude when it... Flashbacks. No. Stupid flashbacks. And I know I'm a bit of a prude when it comes to sex and adult themes. Personally, I don't need that to be in my... Shit. Apparently I'm such a prude I can't even talk about sex.